kind of church back in these last cores. It may not be your church, this last 1% of the West, but it is mine.
It feels more composed than some documentaries and less fly on the wall. How did you achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a bit more of a narrative fiction background, and I knew that the only way that I could really go into making a feature documentary is if I implemented the tools that I sort of knew from making narrative films. I knew that I wanted to have a shot list for this film, and I knew that I wanted to shoot on Super 16, and that really limits you in a lot of ways because it makes, you know, you only have enough film to make this much, you know, movie. So, but what we did was we followed around Tylee and Brian, the ranchers, for days before we actually started shooting, and I just sort of documented their routine and made a shot list based on what they did, because their routine doesn't really change. Their routine is very similar every single day. So I was able to say, okay, we're going to put the camera here, and we're going to allow them to go about this process of feeding, and we're going to document it that way, which made everything very highly composed, and it kind of allowed me to stay in my comfort zone a little bit. Some of the best stuff is the stuff that we couldn't plan for, but in regards to being able to execute the movie, I really felt like I needed to have an element of control in that regard. So. And I was going into making a narrative feature right after I shot a film only a few months after this, and I wanted to kind of start, you know, the process of getting myself ready to get on set again. So.
And I'm asking unashamedly to be allowed to continue worshiping the miracle of the planet and the worship of a natural system not yet touched.
Some of the landscape scenes put me in mind of the art of Richard Prince, which itself was a reference to the Marlboro Man ads, I believe. Were you conscious of having antecedents, and did that shape how you approached shooting?
Yeah, we talked a lot about Thomas Moran, and Tylee's actually a descendant of an artist named William Ranney, and so we really went in with this idea of Western American art tradition and some of the sort of painterly compositions of cowboys and trappers, and this real, basically just sort of this tradition that we have in America, which is one of the only kind of like historical traditions that we have of a very specific type of person, a very specific type of way of life. And I love it. I mean, I think that some of the best fiction films are about that, and I just love some of my documentary inspirations are like Albert Meisels and Frederick Wiseman, and these sort of documenting a procedure and a way of life that isn't familiar to you, but you have a lot of respect for. So.